back, and in the studio now is Irnest Kaplan. He's the MD of Kaplan Equity Analysts. And we thought that given that there's been so much happening in the IT sector over 2007, we thought it would be a prudent thing to do to take a look back and see what's been going on and what we might be able to expect in 2008. Irnest, I think you can't have any discussion about the telecom sector without chatting about telecom. And particularly the seemingly endless and futile, in some respects, quest for finding a partner over the years.
Yeah, Jeff, thanks. Telecom makes up most of our telecom sector anyway, so we have to chat about them when we chat about the sector. And you're quite right. They've had a difficult time, finding their way around the BCX acquisition, which fell through with the Competition Commission. And their whole mobile strategy seems to be going all over the place. So it's been a very interesting one to watch.
And it's interesting, that whole mobile strategy, because theoretically they have a very strong partner in Vodacom, and they own half of it, and they should be able to extract quite a lot of synergy, but that doesn't seem to be happening.
Yeah, I think it's something I've said before. I mean, Telkom has an exceptionally good asset in Vodacom. It's the best mobile player in the country by quite a long shot. And we just haven't seen them being able to work more closely with Vodacom over the past few years. They've been telling us that they want to work more closely with Vodacom, but we haven't really seen that, and consumers haven't seen any fixed mobile convergence products coming out of them. And I think it's a pity, because I think there are issues, higher up issues, which analysts like ourselves don't always know why. But for some reason they haven't been able to work closely with Vodacom, and I think it's a pity, because they have an extremely good asset there.
Do you think it has been a prudent move to, say, cap their losses and look at MTN, for example, which is what they were doing?
Well, this is the speculation. What are they going to do? And I think there have been so many different permutations of speculation out in the market in the last few months, especially surrounding this particular issue. I'm not going to say what I think they should do, other than first start with what they've got at the moment and see if they can't resolve that.
Do you think that they have to do a mobile strategy, or do they have to have a mobile strategy, or can they exist as a purely fixed line player?
Well, it's a good question. I think they need to have Vodacom or a mobile player to the extent that fixed mobile convergence starts to become more and more of a reality over time.
What exactly do you mean by that?
What I mean by that, Jeff, you get a lot of products where fixed line is a best application for it, and a lot of products where mobile is a better application for it. So, for example, imagine a handset. When you're at home or you're near your office, you're working on a fixed line tariff, which is generally a lot cheaper. When you get in your car and you go away and you need to have the mobility feature, then you switch over to a more of a mobile infrastructure, and that gives you the ability to be mobile. You don't necessarily need the two on at the same time, but depending on where you are, you would like to have the advantages of each one. In the fixed line, you typically get, it's typically cheaper, and you typically get much higher bandwidth and more reliability. On the mobile side, you get the mobile feature of it. So those kind of products are coming out internationally, and I think to the extent that they come out more and more, and to the extent that Telkom wants to do that, they're going to need a mobile partner, and they've already got a mobile asset in Vodacom. So,
if we look towards 2008, now clearly things at the moment not sitting particularly happily with Vodacom. Are we likely to see another attempt either at another mobile operator or something changing, or is it likely to try and look internally and focus on what they've got?
Yeah, look, I think that the idea of selling off Vodacom to Vodafone is not yet complete. We even heard, after the talks were so-called terminated a while back, we heard that Vodafone was still interested in pursuing their opportunity to buy the remaining shares or a bigger portion of what they've got of Vodacom. So I don't think that we should rule that out. I think there's probably a good likelihood that might happen. As for other things like, MTN buying Telkom or any other operator buying Telkom, I think that's going to just be speculation from now on.
Why would Vodafone not want the whole 100% stake?
Well, I think they know that they need to respect the black economic empowerment ideals of the country, and they know that why should they buy 100% of the asset and then sell off a percentage and do that. They can actually just buy a percentage of it and leave a certain piece off. I'm not quite sure why, but I think they would want to get control.
If we move away from Telkom and look at the big rival then, Neotel, that's coming in finally, it seems to have been making a few waves behind the scenes in 2007. What have they been doing? Have they gone according to schedule? Are we likely to expect things from them in 2008?
Yeah, I think 2008 is going to be the year where we start to see a lot more visible things from Neotel. 2007, they've really just been building their network and building their relationships with some of their key clients in the large corporate sector. But it's not been something that consumers have seen. It's not something that they've advertised that strongly. They've had the odd launch here and there, which I've attended. But, you know, in essence, we haven't seen much from them. Going forward, they've now got a good network. It's still through them helping the other players.
So it might not be branded Neotel, but clearly competition is a good thing for the sector as a whole.
It's fantastic. And in fact, even since Neotel's been in, even if they haven't even supplied things to some of the companies, there's been an incredible force there, and it's actually led to a reduction in telecom rates in certain key areas. And Telkom knows. So it's been fantastic. One can't ever say that Neotel's not being useful for us. It's been fantastic. It really has. Just not that visible yet.
If we look at the broadband scenario now, it's something that's hobbling the country and is slowly changing, but possibly not quickly enough. We have seen finally some action from the likes of the East African submarine cable system and CCOM now finally getting some sense of direction. What should we be hoping for in terms of broadband going forward in 08?
I think broadband has been successful. Everyone keeps on sort of criticizing our country for the low levels of penetration. But I think if you look in the last year, there's been the mobile operators have been very successful with their mobile broadband product, and Telkom's been quite successful with its own ADSL rollout. And the customer uptake of that's been incredible. I mean, 60, 70, 80% growth every few months, in fact. So I think next year it will just continue, and I think all the initiatives that you mentioned will lead to the cost of that for the end user coming down and down. So next year I think we'll get further cost cuts, and the growth will still be there. It'll probably accelerate.
How much of an influence has the Icasa had over the year? Because they seem to be doing quite a lot better. They seem to have a much better handle on what they're doing this year than they have in the past.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I think it's a very good one, because in order for us to have a good telecoms sector, we need a strong independent regulator. And I think Icasa's, it's difficult for me to judge them because I don't follow all the areas that they focus on. But in the areas that I do look at, it would be fair to say that I think they've improved quite a lot in the last 2 or 3 years. We're seeing them now very strongly trying to hit the mobile operators on their mobile termination rates, which in so doing will probably unlock a lot of tariff reductions going forward in a lot of areas. We're seeing them in 1 or 2 other areas being a little bit more active, a little bit more proactive, let's call it, trying to actually understand where are the areas where the regulator can actually intervene and make really good interventions for the end user and for competition. And I think at the end of the day, it's difficult for them to be as successful as they'd want to be, because the operators that they're up against effectively are 10,000 times their size, and when somebody at Icasa is really on the button on something, one of the operators will offer them an excellent job, paying them probably 10 times the salary. So it has its challenges, but I think they've improved. I think they really have.
And just to close off, if we move our attention to the technology stock space, they've done well over the last couple of years. The earnings are coming through now. What can we expect? Are we likely to expect the growth to continue in 2008?
Yeah, I've actually been looking at that, Jeff. I've been looking at all the IT stocks. Now we're moving away from telecoms. and I've been looking at how they've been doing over the past 3 or 4 years, and they've been doing better. Not talking about share prices here, but the fundamentals, revenue, margins, and earnings. They've been doing better and better over the last 3 years. Revenue growth in the region of 25%, margins in the region of 8% or so on the whole for the sector. And I think going forward, it'll probably be the same. And I say that because I think if there's any economic slowdown in South Africa, which is probably likely, the slowdown in the IT sector will get alleviated somewhat by the additional government spend, which we're starting to see come through quite strongly this year and will continue for the next year or two at least.
Irnest Kaplan is the MD of Kaplan Equity Analysts. There you have it, the IT sector looking relatively good for 2008. Don't go anywhere. That's all from us for Power Lunch today, but we're back with CNBC tomorrow.